It's another day, and today is Tuesday, the 21st of April. And here I am trying to relax in the clinic on a non client day. This life keeps fluctuating, so hopefully you've got that beginning. I'm Jill Stannard, Naturopath, and I also mentor health professionals in their business and their clinical work. Uh, Yesterday, I talked a bit about how I found that living in lockdown reminded me quite a bit of going through cancer treatment 6.5 years ago. And I shared that with some of my cancer community and had an overwhelming yes, this is what it reminds me of, as if we've had a dress rehearsal. But this time around, it's a lot easier and we're feeling a lot healthier. And the whole world is playing along with us. One thing I wanted to share before I got on today's talk. So remember, I can't see if you're there, so press like or make a comment, and that's kind of nice. It was really lovely getting feedback on yesterday's video. Something that's happened in the meantime is over Easter. Was my plan to support a local artist that I like, and it's just arrived yesterday. I'm never, sorry, I just keep touching my face today. I'm never quite sure whether these are in reverse or not, but I'll read it out just in case. So this is from the wonderful David Fraser, woodblock artist. I think Australia's probably leading woodblock artist. And he made this little A5 memoir, little treat to support us and support him through these times, which says 2020, when this year is done and dusted, let's make a world more generous and kind. And a lovely socially distancing couple going on there. Um, yeah, but I actually think we don't have to wait for this to be done and dusted to be more generous and kind. Uh, yeah, I've come across somebody who was pretty aggro today when I was out for my early walk, and they were really stressed. Put it on Instagram what the story was if you're interested in reading it. But when I hear people going off at total strangers in the streets about some perceived transgression, all I think is you're really afraid and you're really stressed and you're taking out on the first target you can come across. So, you know, if you are exposed to someone's anger, for me it was like secondhand, it was at somebody else. But it's trying not to react and get into it and actually try to find some compassion for that person. Yesterday, I said I talked today about food in some way, and those who know me know that I'm not a huge fan of leftovers. At the moment, I'm cooking for one because my partner is being a good son and helping his elderly mother. And that means my cooking's a little bit different. And there are some things that I still make in batches for at least two people, or for one moderate eater and one huge eater who is not here. And my latest thing that I cooked 2 nights ago was a batch of vegetarian chili-esque. So usually I love putting heaps of chili in food. We grow habanero chilies, which are super, super hot. And I just felt like a little break from that. So I used a can of turtle beans, half a can of crushed tomatoes, probably the equivalent of a can of really good quality veggie stock. I roasted up some cumin and some coriander, ground them, cooked that up with onion, garlic, uh, ginger, added in the spices, and added in the drained, rinsed can of black beans, and then tomatoes, a bit more stock, and then grated in some leftover veggies, which were carrot and zucchini. And then gave them a bit of, for the chili, I used hot paprika, some smoky Tabasco sauce, and a squirt of sriracha. Love sriracha, and that just brought it up to the right kind of heat. Now, I made a really delicious meal. I had some leftover white corn tortillas that had been sitting in a Ziploc bag in the fridge, and I revived them by dunking them into a little bit of cold water, then putting them in the equivalent of a non-stick pan, which is a very old, seasoned cast iron pan, because I'm not a huge fan of what non-stick pans have on them. Uh, 30 seconds one side, flipped it over, kept it warm and steamy in a clean tea towel, made a batch of those, had the chili, had some homegrown coriander, had some homegrown mizuna, I think it's a leafy green, and a bit of fake feta to give it a bit of tang. If I didn't have that, I'd probably just, I didn't, if I didn't have any avocado, so I couldn't make guacamole, but otherwise use a little bit of lemon or lime juice, roll them up, and they were delish. But did I want to eat that the next day and the next day? No. So what I do with leftover curries, chili beans, anything a bit casserole, and once again, I don't eat meat, but you can do these with meaty things, is when the leftovers are nice and cold the next day after being stored in the fridge. It's not going to get any foodborne gut bugs in this kind of time. I just get some frozen puff pastry, cut a square into four, so you get four squares, and then just make triangles with a couple of teaspoons, a couple of heaped teaspoons, depending. If you put too much in, it squishes out the edge of the leftover chili beans. Um, Put them flat on a baking tray. Make sure that they were airtight in plastic. Sorry about the plastic. Froze them in the freezer overnight. Then I could kind of, I think it's called free flow or freeze flow. Then I could just stack them into one bag in the freezer and pull out as necessary as many pasties as I liked for lunch or dinner with a salad and some nice condiments, some chutney, and maybe some mango pickle would be nice with those. Uh, the other thing I considered doing with the beans was to add the rest of the leftover can of tomato, which is in my freezer now. Do the same with coconut milk. Can I just say, never buy light coconut milk? It's just incredibly watered down regular coconut milk. So my version of lighter coconut milk is to use half a can of full fat coconut milk and then put in an equal amount of veggie stock as well into whatever I'm cooking. So I often have half a can of coconut milk or half a can of crushed tomatoes when I'm cooking for one in my freezer. But I could have grabbed those leftover tomatoes, added some more stock, kept it whole, not mushed it up, and used that as a really nice soup. My other favourite leftovers, because I don't, leftovers are great, but I want to make something interesting and different each meal. And so I think leftover veggies, baked veggies, are a really good example. So roast veggies, best trick is a really hot oven. You're cutting your veggies into equal size for density. And I'll link an article I wrote about roast veggies to this post. Um, I just toss them in a couple of 1 or 2 teaspoons of oil and some salt. You don't have to do the full kind of Jamie Oliver. Hi, Jane. You don't have to do the full with, glugging heaps of oil over the top. If you just mix them in a bowl first, they get covered. A little bit of oil goes a long way. Bake them in a super hot oven, and leftovers are great. So there are things I love to do with uh, leftover veggies. So you can roast veggies. It's my favourite way to have asparagus and asparagus season, or this time of year. It's the only way I want to eat Brussels sprouts is to have roast Brussels sprouts. Once you've gone there, you can't go back. Love roasted cauliflower and even roasted broccoli. And then you've got all your and roast fennel, beautiful. Then you've got your denser vegetables like your potato, sweet potato, pumpkin, carrots, those sorts of things. Everything roasts really, really well. So particularly with dense veggies that are left over, I might put them in a frittata, which is just a fancy word for an omelette. Just mix up some really good quality eggs, bit of salt and pepper, pour them in, pour it over the top. Beautiful. I love to roast in some garlic and whole onion in its skin, like a brown onion in its skin, and whole garlic in its skin, and you can use those the next day. You don't have to saute them. Really nice in all roast veggies, can be really delicious in a salad the next day. You might want to add some green lentils, cooked green lentils to it, and a few leafy greens and some fresh herbs and a nice citrusy vinaigrette, or go a bit more Niçoise style with some leafy greens, your roast veggies, maybe boiled egg and or tuna if you are not vegan, and some nice black olives, and once again a really citrusy vinaigrette delish. I also like using leftover roast veggies in a soup, so add more of your vegetable stock, simmer them, and then I'd probably use a hand blender to squish them up, make them taste good. So I have a blended soup. And then individual things, so like roast cauliflower. I love roast cauliflower uh, as a replacement for chickpeas and a hummus dip. Though I will find that, the hot component in brassicas and the cabbage family, like cauliflower, I think it's called sulfur heterocides, if I remember my very early herbal medicine in the late 80s study. And the sulfur heterocides seem to increase over the next day or so. So if you're going to make the roast cauliflower dip, eat it that day, unless you like that kind of mustard heat. Roast cauliflower also can put in a pasta. Um, it's beautiful in a curry, a roasted cashew nut and cauliflower curry. Beautiful with some coconut milk and some spices. Am I making you hungry? I hope I am. So, yeah, if you love eating the same food day after day, go for it. But if you want to be creative with your leftovers, I gave you the example of making pasties, or you could make them, for the curries, the chili beans, you could put them in a potato top individual pies, or a single pastry top pie if you're eating wheat. On the pasties, as I said, as really handy thaw ahead lunches, and just cook them or cook them straight from the freezer for a long time. Okay. See you guys tomorrow at 1. Let me know what you want to talk about, and I will see you soon. Don't forget the archive is on the YouTube channel, so just Google Jill Stannard Naturopath in YouTube and you'll find them all. I, I've been doing this since the 13th of March, 1 o'clock weekdays, Sydney time. See you soon. Bye. Bye, bye, bye. Have a good day. Have a good day.